Am I the butthole for telling my stepson he can't stay in my house? My stepson, age 24, is getting kicked out of his apartment because he doesn't want to pay rent anymore. His roommate found another tenant and asked him to leave. He asked if he could move in with me and his mom, and I said no. Some background: he's a 24-year college graduate who works part-time when he decides to work. I helped pay for his expenses while he attended college, and I feel like with him being 24, it's time to man up and at least attempt to provide for yourself. Me not allowing him to live in my home means he would have to move from Miami to Illinois to live with his dad. He insists that he doesn't want to move, but he also refuses to get a job. His mother and me try to explain that you have to work in order to get what you want. We've sent him job postings, and I wrote his resume. I even added a little fluff to the resume to help him get interviews. He would get interviews, in some cases make it to drug testing, but would forget to take his drug test. So needless to say, I'm done trying. So I thought. Fast forward to this week, he calls with his sob story about getting kicked out for non-payment. I tell him he can't stay in my house because he refuses to work. I can't imagine working 10 to 12-hour day, while a healthy, college-educated man sleeps till 1 p.m. and parties all night on my dime. So, because I care about him, I offered to buy him a plane ticket back to Illinois. He refused because he doesn't want to leave his car. According to him, he's put too much money in the car and he doesn't want to leave his belongings. Okay, I offered to rent him a U-Haul truck with a trailer as a one-way rental. He refused, saying he doesn't want to drive. According to him, the only option is to live with us. At this point, I'm done, so I flat out say no, and get back to Illinois the best way you can. Am I the butthole? By the way, his mother says she agrees with me, but I can tell she wants to let him stay. Not the butthole. I was thinking it'd go another way, but no, totally not. I hope your wife backs you. If she wants to let him stay, she might be open to manipulation by him. That's the mom in us. Biology won't allow us to let our offspring starve and fail, even if it's because this bird is too lazy to go get the worm. I understand the sentiment perfectly, but I'm going to push mine to fly away regardless. It's the only way they learn how to fly. I like the empty nest, there's less crap on the floor. Ed. Just woke up and saw the awards. Guys, thank you. Safe to say I'm floored. I literally bought coins so I could reward you for this. This is the way. Mom of 7, all independent living, 21 to 33 years old. Except our 23-year-old special needs forever child, edited to add. They learned household chores young because they shared in the mess. Were taught to do their own laundry by age 8, except dressy clothes. By age 15 to 16 they were expected to have income from some type of regular job for their fun money and savings. When graduating high school they each received $1,500 towards their first car plus whatever they saved for one. They could choose to further their education at local schools, on us, while living at home, or join the workforce full-time and move out, or pay full room and board to stay home with the same family rules. Obviously, there are more details, but the premise was instilled about 8 years old that we considered them by 16 to be young adults practicing for independence. We are proud of our hard-working adult children. I am also a mom of a 14, 20, and 22 years old. I agree and have done similar to the parents' approach above. One point I'd add is teaching them to cook. My older son, who is an excellent home chef and enjoys it, has spent a lot of time teaching his roommates how to make meals that are beyond a grilled cheese and scrambled eggs. I'm so glad to have found you too. I've done similar with my kids, and everyone I've spoken of it, people have said I was too harsh. I disagree. We have to make sure our kids have all the skills they need to be successful adults. That is a parent's job. Agreed. Self-reliance skills were imparted in many areas: cooking / finances / investing / loans / credit card / insurance, etc. So true. I had our kids save 60% of all their earnings when they were in high school. I know this is a lot and sounds draconian. Once they had a bit saved, I showed them how to buy a mutual fund or a few stocks and explained how they worked, as I had to figure that out myself. That savings is now used by them to pay for books, supplies, and spending in college. We pay up to a certain amount and then they need loans for food, Housing and tuition for college. Ps. If people haven't invested before, I really like T. Rowe Price mutual funds. There are minimum investment amounts required, but they are lower if you automatically have dollar deposited each month. I had $50 to $300 invested each month when I first started working, and it's how I saved my down payment for a house. It took several years but helped me save. Yeah, big talk is great until you see those sad puppy eyes laughing out loud. I'm 100% with you in principle. Got a 22-yo that's trying to fly ATM, but it's so much harder to do in reality. Because you get how effing hard early adulthood is, and how much you wish you had someone at that age who would coddle you a little, and here's your baby crying in your arms in a way he hasn't since he was a toddler. Scared and helpless and lost and overwhelmed. And you know what he needs to do to fix it now, just as if you knew when he melted down as a tot. These are simple solutions: get a job, pay your bills, eat your veggies, and go to bed. But you look at him now and know he's still growing, still learning, just as he was all those years ago. And he needs you. You are the one person he is fundamentally programmed to turn to for help. And you are fundamentally programmed to want to help. And he just needs a place to stay for a few days. He just needs a few bucks to get through the month. Just a little bit of help to get himself straight. That's a test of fortitude I don't think anyone is ready for. I'm being pretty lighthearted here. I talk all kinds of crap to myself about laying down the law and then crumble the second I see my kiddo, so I'm mostly just laughing at myself. And he's going to be fine. COVID just ruined a bunch of plans. Here's your baby crying in your arms. Original poster's stepson is a man. A lazy, grown man. Please stop infantilizing a lazy, grown, and, according to original poster, spoiled, man. I don't think they're directly referencing this situation or actually insinuating that the stepson shouldn't be caring for himself. I think they're just referring to how kids will always be your baby, even if they're out of the nest. It doesn't matter that I'm in my 30s, with a career, and living on my own for quite a while now. My grandma still calls me her baby. Original poster's wife is probably torn between the desire to fix things and the knowledge that he needs that push out of the nest. My son is 16. He will be getting his driver's license this summer. I am being cheerful and supportive on the outside. On the inside, I need a stiff drink, laughing out loud, but we will both survive. When I was 16, I was pissy when I didn't get the car unchaperoned when I wanted it. As someone with a car payment, I don't know how the hell my mom trusted me with her car. OMG. So much. It's the reason I moved out of my boyfriend's house and distanced myself from him. His 27 and 30-year-olds will never launch and he will continue to enable them. Stepson can live in his car. Boyfriend's 30-year-old daughter does because she wants to use her money for drugs rather than paying rent. You would think seeing her girlfriend stabbed to death and dying in her arms over a crack deal gone bad would be rock bottom. Agreed 100%. Let him stay, he will never have any incentive to leave. A grown man would be looking at options and taking the best one. A child pouts and says no and whines to get his way. Only problem is, if the child does not learn to stand on his own 2 feet, he has no idea how to take care of himself when everyone else is gone. Continue to say no, for both his sake and yours. Yep. Hardest conversation I ever had with my adult kid went something like, "Kid, Mom, I've run into another snag in my adult life, and adulting is hard." Me, that sounds tough. No offer of assistance. No telling them how to fix it. That was the day they really started to grow up. It made it easier because I saw them coming up with solutions, instead of bringing me their problems. Now the conversations are more like, "Kid, Mom, I've run into another snag in my adult life, and adulting is hard. But you know, I will figure it out. It always works out eventually." Me, yep. That's a good attitude to have. I'm 24, so still the kid in this situation, but one of the pivotal moments of transitioning into adulthood was calling my mom to vent about a situation after having already fixed it instead of asking how to fix it. That being said, I still mess up my taxes every year and require help with that though. Laughing out loud, taxes suck. One of my kids once asked me to co-sign on a newer, used, car. As much as I wanted to help and get her a lower interest rate, I have just always had a rule to not do that. If you can't afford it on your own, you can't afford it, was my mantra. It pained me, and I used to think back and think I should have done it. But over the next few years, she busted her butt to improve her credit and her financial situation and bought a new car with a low interest rate reserved for highly qualified buyers. I could not have been more proud. She did it on her own. And I told her so too. Smart move. I work in collections for a credit union. You wouldn't believe how many parents of people in their early 20s I talk to who can't afford to make their kids' car payments and are just ruined financially by the late payments and repos due to poor financial habits by the kid. Unless you have the money to pay off a loan if it goes south, don't co-sign for a car with your kid. Taxes are a pain. TurboTax is your friend. TurboTax is not your friend. They are one of the most expensive self-filing services. TaxSlayer is much cheaper and just as easy to use, as are tons of other sites. We only figured this out this year. Went from paying almost $200 out of our refund with TurboTax to like $40 with TaxSlayer. And it only cost that much because I'm self-employed. So I'm just trying to spread the word and save people some dollar laughing out loud. Additionally, TurboTax spends millions of dollars every year lobbying the federal government to prevent them from developing an easier, cheaper tax filing solution. Web link. I knew I'd learned of another reason I didn't like them, but I couldn't pull it out of the back of my brain laughing out loud. Thank you for the information. Yeah, I did it twice where TurboTax tried to charge me $60 to $100 for my fairly simple taxes with a bit of education credits. I switched to FreeTaxUSA, which only charged $15 for state taxes and nothing for federal with the same refund. Fair point. I will check out TaxSlayer and FreeTaxUSA. What I should have added though is I don't remember my taxes being complicated when I was 24. DIY should still be feasible, but I realize a lot has changed since 1998. ETA, thanks for the links and good info. I was relying on what's easy since they have last year's data good to go, and didn't question if that's what I'd actually want them to have. As a registered tax preparer, truer words cannot be said. Taxes are the worst, celebratory hands in the air. Also, it doesn't help when the government passes law in effing March, deciding they won't tax unemployment. That decision literally makes thousands of dollars of difference in tax owed. Then IRS, laughing out loud JK, let's move the filing date. Then laughing my butt off, we're revising how credits are handled because the March law shafted people who were borderline eligible. Unbelievable. I delayed filing as close as I could get to April 15th because I felt tomfoolery in the air. I'm grateful for the extended date though, or I'd be trying to do my taxes this weekend with a COVID vaccine hangover I hope to acquire tomorrow. You are not my child, but I am shedding tears of happiness for this comment. I never had that issue. Not the here's your baby crying in your arms pleading issue, the falling for the puppy eyes because it's your baby issue. My parents were willing to help my brother and I with almost anything. But only if we were actively trying to do it without their help first, and failing despite putting in 100%, our own effort. That was the standard they set growing up, so it was the standard I applied to my children. If you're working your butt off to make it without help, and can't quite manage it, I will move heaven and earth to help you. If you obviously aren't making an effort, you will get exactly zero help from me. I'm the same way with my friends, with my coworkers before I retired, with everyone. If you're doing your part, I will go to the ends of the earth fighting for you and alongside you, to see you succeed. If you aren't putting in 100%, you get nothing. This is exactly how my parents are. I'm in my 30s and currently living at home because a few years ago I got fed up with my dead-end job and decided to go back to school. I couldn't afford to live on my own with what work was paying me unless I got a part-time job, but couldn't do that and go to school, so my parents allowed me to live with them as long as I was still working and going to school so I could get by easier. I'm now done my program, got a much better paying job and looking for my own place. They were happy to let us stay home after college. My sister did it too for a bit, but only if we were still making our own way. Same here, my dad passed not too long after I finished college, so my mom was in a big house by herself and not sure of her next steps. She offered to let me move in as long as I continued to work/support myself. I ended up splitting the property tax bill with her. She paid for everything else, including food. It was a win/win. She got to stay and not hastily get herself into another living situation. I got to live in a way nicer place than I could afford on my own for a minimal monthly rent, it was less than $400 per month at the time. I lived with her up until I got married and saved a nice chunk of change to put toward a house. Scared and helpless and lost and overwhelmed? I'm not so sure that's what's going on here. As a matter of fact, I think parents absolutely should be supportive and helpful when things like that are going on. Sounds like the proper adjectives for this particular individual are lazy and entitled. When I pulled a stunt similar to what this kid's doing, my mama showed up at my door and tore me a new butthole. My dad was always a hard butt, but that coming from my mama really got my attention. This made me gag. Original poster is not the butthole. This man needs to grow up. When I was his age, I had 2 kids, a full-time job, with benefits, and going to school full-time. His version of early adulthood is not hard, by any means. My children saw my struggle in early adulthood, but I was able to get my degree and make a pretty decent wage for my area. I have been having the talk with my 17-year-old about what's going to happen when he's finished with high school. He will be going to community college full-time and working part-time, or working full-time and going to community college part-time. We get 2 years of free community college in our state. Either way, he will be paying a % of what he brings home in rent. That money will be used for some groceries, but a bulk of it will directly into a savings account, and eventually invested, for him to use once he figures out his career path. He can then either use it to continue on to a university or buy a house. Sounds like Op's kid just flat out doesn't want to work. At some point, you're right, got to be tough. If he was working hard but coming up short, I'd say yeah, help, because you're right, it's harder than it used to be to move out on your own. But at no point in history did anyone ever survive in their own without any work. Sounds like you're doing a good job. I'm in the same boat as your son, and damn do I appreciate the support. I like the empty nest, there's less crap on the floor. A effing men. I like the empty nest, there's less crap on the floor. I'm so stealing this line. Yeah, especially since he has a car, so it's not like he'd literally be sleeping on park benches. He can live in his car for a little bit, and hopefully he realizes pretty quickly that actually getting a job would be a pretty good idea. Maybe share with him some resources like soup kitchens in the area and offer to let him shower at your house once he starts job hunting. Yeah. I kept waiting for a medical diagnosis, or some reason why this 20-something kid can't pay rent. But it never came. If he moved in with you, you will have to get eviction papers and the police to drag him out. You know it. Even his mother knows it. You gave him options and he rejected them all. One last thing, a final offer, a gas card with enough money on it to drive his car to Illinois. Not the butthole. I think once he's sleeping in his precious car and eating at the local soup kitchen, he'll get the message that no one but himself is going to help him. But the moment they let him in, he's going to be like a barnacle. That's assuming he doesn't find an unsuspecting sucker to leech off of. I bet a friend with benefits who lives alone is about to get promoted to partner very soon. God, I hope not. Chances are that he would already have a bang made if he had the opportunity. My father-in-law pulled the same stunt and lost the respect of all of his friends years ago. Ended up moving out of state to find more suckers. People like this really grind my gears. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.